From the 13th of August, Aphiwe Dyantyi will begin to rebuild his rugby career following his 4-year absence from the game. Dyantyi has been serving his ban from all rugby-related activities after failing a drugs test in 2019. The Springbok wing returned a positive B sample which found 3 banned substances. At the time of his suspension, the 28-year-old was one of the stars in Rassie Erasmus's Bok team, having earned himself the Breakthrough of the Year award from World Rugby in 2018. So, how does Dyantyi come back from his ban and work his way to the top again? Let's chat to the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport, Khalid Galant. A very good morning to you, Khalid. Thank you so much for your time. When we talk to you, it's usually around the time where an athlete is being banned, an athlete is awaiting a result, but we never really get an opportunity to speak after the fact, after the banning. And I suppose perhaps even what happens during the athlete's banning. So does the SAIDS actually keep up with an athlete that has been banned for a duration of time? So in this case, have you been keeping up with Aphiwe Dyantyi and what exactly he's been doing in ensuring that he is getting rehabilitated?
Generally, it's 4 years, so we don't keep up with athletes during that 4-year period. But as they come out of their ban, we normally schedule a education session with them so that they are aware of their rights and responsibilities as the sanction ends, and also that they can be expected to be tested while they're in the last few months of their ban, and then when they start resuming competition. So in terms of keeping up, we normally will start communicating with the athlete in the last phase of the doping ban.
I would hope that you've never had to experience such a matter, but in the case that an athlete towards the end of their ban, and when you do then go back to testing them, if you were to find that they've contravened the rules again, what happens in that case?
Well, yes, it would definitely be an unfortunate case since the athlete would not have learned anything from the consequences of serving a doping ban. But if that does occur, it will be, again, a charge against the athlete. However, in that case, there will be extenuating and aggravating circumstances, and the athlete can face anywhere from a double ban of 8 years to a lifetime ban from sport for a second offense.
How regular will the testing be on the athlete when they do get back into, I'll call it, normal life? So in Aphiwe's case, again, he's now, of course, joined the Sharks. He's looking to fight for his place again among the best, not only in South African rugby, but in world rugby. You know, he was at his best when he got banned in 2019, missing out on a historic World Cup. He would, I'm sure, want to be getting back to that Springbok team, going to France to the World Cup, especially now that he's heard from Rassie Erasmus saying to him that the door is still open, we are open to giving our players second chances. So he'll most likely be amped up to ensure that he is on that plane going over to France. But how regular will his testing be now that, of course, he is somebody that has transgressed previously?
Well, testing is always no notice. So, and again, with the Springboks being defending world championships and the World Cup being in November, the entire Springbok squad, whoever gets selected, it's reasonable for them to expect that we will test them quite regularly. So whether Aphiwe is part of the provisional team going to the Rugby World Cup, we will then can reasonably be expected to be tested. We won't, how can I say, make a special deal of testing him now just because he's come back and with the Sharks. He will just be part of the normal testing of elite rugby players going forward.
Just before I let you go, Khalid, you were recently in conversation with one of our media colleagues talking about how you handle a high-profile banning of this nature, and that you took some kind of inspiration, some kind of teachings from the Lance Armstrong banning. I mean, again, Aphiwe Dyantyi was, if anything, the best wing in the world at the time of his banning, and for him to have essentially fallen the way he did, and for you to have been essentially at the center of him having to serve his ban, that must have been quite an experience for you. I mean, how do you handle such a high-profile situation?
Yes, it was quite an intense experience, but as a professional, as the CEO of a regulatory agency. I have to focus what I'm employed to do and what I'm supposed to do. And as sad as the case may be in terms of his high-profile nature and missing out on a World Cup, that's actually not within my framework of work. I have to focus on what I'm supposed to do, which is testing, keeping sport clean, and where an athlete contravenes the rules and the laws, and then affording that athlete the due procedure and due rights in terms of prosecuting the case.
Just again, before I let you go, Khalid, another high-profile case is that of Luvo Manyonga. He is currently serving a ban of his own, and he's somebody that I think South Africa will be very disappointed to know that he did get banned, for not availing himself for that testing. What advice do you give to somebody of such high stature in South African, sport to not avail themselves for drug testing, or to perhaps go and put substances in their body that they know that they shouldn't? What advice are you giving to somebody else who will most likely be our next star in whatever sport it'll be, to just take care of yourself and don't go do something that might really just end your career?
Well, with respect to the Luvo case, I mean, it's quite exceptional, and he has some other issues in terms of dependency, and the drug that is particularly has a problem with is a TIC. So there's some dependency issues. But athletes of that nature are well aware of the consequences. And it would be very difficult for me to advise them, since I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not a multi-million rand athlete. So they're much more well acquainted with the consequences of jeopardizing a lucrative professional, whether it's a rugby career or a track or athletics career.
Well, Khalid, we can only but thank you for remaining resolute in your job and not being, swayed by just how high profile these cases are and who, you're dealing with. Because, I would imagine a lot of people were probably upset at the SAIDS that you took away Aphiwe Dyantyi, who was supposed to be the guy that is going over to Japan to go win the World Cup with us, and yet he unfortunately had to be left behind. But you know what? Remain as you are, do your job as best as you always can, and try keep sport drug free. But thank you so much for joining us here on the eNCA right here on this Saturday morning. Of course, that is the Chief Executive Officer of the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport, Khalid Galant.